an update to the Tyranny of Dragons campaign, the original campaign released for D&D 5 years ago. If any of that sounds interesting, I'm just going to do a quick update on the news announced at SDCC, so stay tuned. All right, folks, so if you're familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, and specifically this channel more than anything, I would say, you're familiar with the Tyranny of Dragons campaign. This was originally a campaign released at the start of 5th edition, which we've just recently reminded everyone was 5 years ago, and it was comprised of 2 separate adventures, Hoard of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat. They were basically the first real, you call it full-length campaign, right? Lost Minds of Phandelver came in the starter set, which came first. Then this was released, and if I recall, Hoard of the Dragon Queen was released before the Dungeon Master's Guide and possibly before the Monster Manual. So you were getting access to magic items as well as certain monsters long before you had stat blocks for any of the other things in 5th edition. Slightly later on came Rise of Tiamat, the continuation of that. So we had like a level 1 to 7-ish and a level 8 to 15-ish campaign. And you know, I'll be honest with you, I've played it from start to finish, and I've run it pretty much from start to finish at this point, and it's not plagued with problems. The first printing, which is what I have, is very much a remnant of D&D Next, or the D&D playtest for 5th edition. There are a lot of things in there that say things along the lines of like, the enemy's readiness is high, which was one of the kind of mechanics of the playtest for 5th edition. Basically, what that meant was, they can't be surprised because they're on alert. But that's what I'm saying. There was a lot. If you look at the errata that exists for those books, it fixes a lot of that. There are also things like there's a roper that can talk. They leave that out of the book. There are a whole bunch of spell books and interesting loot from some creatures that just doesn't exist in the original print of the book. So all of the things that I'm telling you about now, I played through the game with that, confused the hell out of the DM who was running it for me, and we missed out on a bunch of stuff. Why am I even talking about this again? Well, let's jump over here to an announcement that was recently made at San Diego Comic-Con. Not where I expected to hear news about Dungeons & Dragons. I mean, yes, it's San Diego Comic-Con, sure, but who would have thought that this would have been something they would have announced, let alone there of all places? So what is this? Well, first of all, you can see some super badass Hydro 74 art. If you're unfamiliar with Hydro 74, he's the gentleman behind all of the limited edition covers. Well, not all of them, but for the most part, the limited edition versions of things like Descent into Avernus, Xanathar's Guide, Volo's Guide, the limited edition hardcover box set. So basically, what do you get? Coming out on October 22nd of this year for $49.95, you get both adventures packed into, so I happen to have right here, because I'm running it, Rise of Tiamat. Look at how thin this book is. Rise of Tiamat, the entire book itself, from front to back, including everything, is 94 pages. Okay, that's a tiny book compared to recent ones. So I think if you combine both books together, you're still only looking at like 170 something pages. But you're going to get both adventures compact into one book, bound with a fresh new cover with spectacular art by Hydro 74. You can see that there. Features concept art, which is awesome, providing insight into the creative process when crafting this fantastical adventure. I will also point out that this was not designed by Wizards internally, like pretty much everything from Curse of Strahd beyond. This was designed by the folks at Kobold Press, which they were given what they were given from Wizards of the Coast, kind of to design this at an early stage of D&D. So, right, the first 3 campaigns, Princes of the Apocalypse, Rise of Tiamat, Hoard of the Dragon Queen, and Out of the Abyss were all designed by third-party folks before Wizards kind of brought the development back in-house. Anyway, features concept art providing insight into the creative process when crafting this. Again, that'll mostly be from the Kobold Press side, and complete with errata and a reworked opening chapter. So the errata, realistically, should be the same as what you can easily go and download off the Wizards website. But the reworked opening chapter, I'm very curious about, because it's a little interesting, and it, for Hoard of the Dragon Queen, how it starts. So I'm curious to see how they really build that up. So we'll read the little background here, and then we'll call this a quit, right? In an audacious bid for power, the Cult of the Dragon leads a charge in an unholy campaign to bring Tiamat back to Faerun. Alongside their dragon allies and the Red Wizards of Thay, they sweep from town to town, laying waste to all those who oppose them and gathering a hoard of riches for their dread queen. The threat of annihilation has become so dire that groups as desperate as... disparate? I feel like that should be desperate, but I guess maybe I'm thinking of the wrong word. As the Harpersons and Tarm, I guess disparate, I get it, are banding together to fight the cult. The heroes must succeed, or Faerun will succumb to a draconic tyranny. In the end, the world will never be the same. So I will absolutely be picking this up for myself because I have a long history with this game. My first real 5th edition foray. The first time I've been a player at that point in 9 to 10 years was when this came out. So I absolutely have to have this in my collection. And I will be doing some coverage of it to go over this reworked open chapter when it does come out. So be on the lookout for that. Let me know what you guys think. Was this as big of a shock to you as it was to me that this came out? Interesting. I guess it's, it's 5 years of 5e, so let's bring back the original campaign. And I mean, I would love to have this art as a poster, like a print. I think it's beautiful. I'm sure Joe Manganiello has this hanging on his wall already. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. And if you're curious and you want to see the end of a Tyranny of Dragons campaign, Monday, the 22nd of July, I will be running. Basically, my players are in the final fight with Tiamat. So if that's interesting to you and you want to see it, come tune in at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/Immersion. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I'll see you next time.